Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this video, we'll be discussing tips for the removal and replacement of the Vapor Canister Purge Solenoid on this 2024 Hyundai Elantra with the 2.0 liter engine. If you find my tips to be helpful, please like, subscribe, and comment. Now let's get started. The Vapor Canister Purge Solenoid is located in the center of your screen near the tip of my pointer. Some of the symptoms associated with a faulty vapor canister include rough idle, decreased fuel economy, hard starts, poor acceleration, stalling, the smell of fuel, a faulty gas cap, and a check engine light. You also have diagnostic trouble codes P0442 and P0449. So you might ask, what does this part do? This part controls the flow of fuel vapor from the vapor canister to the intake manifold. Our supply list includes a vapor canister, a pair of pliers, and a 10mm socket with a ratchet. Please see other items in the description below. So let's move forward with the removal and replacement of the evap purge valve. There's a hose coming from the valve cover. You'll want to loosen this connection here to provide better access. Next, we're going to disconnect the electrical connector by pressing down on this end right here, pushing forward gently and then pulling back. Next, we're going to move this wire out of the way so you can pinch in on this little wire holder. Just pinch in and push it back through the hole. We'll remove this 10mm bolt right here so that we can remove the bracket and the purge valve. There is a hose connection right here. There's a green rectangle on that side and an identical green rectangle on the back side. What you'll want to do is squeeze those together. Squeeze, push, and pull. Just like that. And finally, there's a connection at the bottom. And you'll want to use your pliers to loosen up that hose clamp. But you want to be extremely careful here. You don't want to pull the far end of that hose connection loose. Okay? So squeeze the hose clamp, twist, 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 pull off the purge valve, and there you have it. And so for this demonstration, I'm going to leave the purge valve on the bracket itself. But I'll show you that to remove it. Just slide it off just like that, okay? And if you were to buy a new purge valve, you'll want to retain the little rubber grommet and use it on the new valve. Okay, put that back on. And so what do I want to tell you about this? Typically, these last for about 60 to 70,000 miles. Really, all this does is control the fuel vapor coming from the gas tank, and when there is a demand, it allows the fuel vapor to be released into the intake system to increase fuel economy. Okay? So this is how it's mounted on the vehicle, and you can see that it flows into this hose connection right here, goes in where it's controlled, and then it flows down and into the intake. There's two types of tests you can do there. There's the large leak test, and then there's a small leak test. To perform the large leak test, you could simply blow on this right here very hard for about 1 second. If you were to do that and air came out here, that would tell you that this part has failed. The second test is a small leak test, which is you would apply a pressurized device here, maybe a pump with some clear hose and just attached there, and hold pressure on that for, let's say, 3 to 5 minutes. And if that time, with a little small gauge, right? And so during that time, if the pressure on the gauge showed that it was falling over that 3 to 5 minutes, that would indicate that this has a small leak. But if it held the pressure, that tells you that the valve is in good working order. Some other things you might want to look at before you replace it is whether or not these electrical connections are nice and straight. Sometimes, things happen and those connectors get bent. And other than that, that's really about all I want to tell you about this. Please look on the screen and I'll share the part number with you. For someone purchases a used vehicle, say with 40,000 miles on it, and then a year and a half later, this part winds up going out. It's very typical that sequence occurs. But rest assured, you guys can replace this very easily yourself. I'm not sure how much the part is, but it really doesn't cost a lot. But I'm pretty sure if you guys were to go to a repair shop, they would charge you 3 times as much just, for the diagnosis and then for the labor and then to change the part, which may be worth it. But what my videos are all about is engaging you guys to, perform the process yourself. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and reinstall this purge valve and move on with the video. I'm going to connect that bottom hose connection first. And I'm just going to push that hose down, and then it kind of it'll stop. And so I'm just going to force that hose connection onto the back end of that hose. Okay, now I'm going to use my fingers to feel and make sure that that is a solid connection all the way up to the bottom of the canister. Okay, and it is. Next, I'm going to go ahead and secure the bracket. And it just has to be snug. Next, we'll connect the hose connection coming from the firewall. And you can see much better now that you just squeeze in on these 2 green areas and the hose disconnects, okay? So just kind of slide it in place. I'm gonna push it back towards the firewall and then just let it slide up onto the canister. And you heard the click, and that's exactly what you want to hear. Okay, what's next? Next, we have our electrical connector. Before you connect it, we're going to look at this rubber gasket here and make sure that it's not deformed. It isn't deformed. The electrical connectors are nice and straight, shiny. Slide it in place. Listen for the click. There you go. Now you're going to reinstall this little retaining clip. Push it back up into the hole. There you go. And the last thing we're going to do is reconnect this hose that's coming from the valve cover. Just like that. Slide it up in place. And you can see that we still have about a 1/4 inch of hose that's exposed at the very end, and that's exactly what you want to see. And I like to turn my hose clamps downward, especially near the front of the engine, because sometimes you'll reach in here and your shirt or something will rub across and you can tear your clothing. So I like to turn them downward. That wraps up our video on the removal and replacement of the Vapor Canister Purge Solenoid on this 2024 Hyundai Elantra with the 2.0 liter engine. I hope you found my tips to be helpful. Please like and subscribe. And until next time, drive defensively.